Let me summarize Top Gun for you. And that's why Top Gun's awesome. Hey guys, and welcome to the channel. My name is Joseph Curtis, and if you love movies just as much as me, you have come to the right place. Now, before we get started with this review, please remember to like and subscribe. It's really going to help out the channel in the long run. Also, you can follow me on the following social platforms to stay up to date in my world. Now, with that out of the way, let's talk about Top Gun, directed by Tony Scott. As students at the United States Navy's elite fighter weapons school competes to be the best in the class, one daring young pilot learns a few things from a civilian instructor that are not taught in the classroom. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, the first time that I watched this movie was in preparation for Top Gun Maverick in 2020 until it got delayed again and again and again. But on one fateful night, my friend and I, we have this movie bowl, right? And we picked this random film called Top Gun. And I do not regret it one bit. It became one of my favorite movies that year. And I can see why there's so many fans out there for this series. Even though it seems like it's a little bit too late for a sequel from Top Gun, look at Blade Runner 2049. I love that movie. So I have pretty high hopes for the sequel because, my gosh, I love this movie, guys. Let's just get this out of the way. Let's talk about the things that worked with Top Gun.
I feel the need for speed.
Obviously, the stud himself, Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is an actor that goes 110%. And there's some people that do the criticisms of he just plays the same cool, suave guy. And you know what? Sometimes he does, but gosh darn it, he pulls it off. And I love Tom Cruise in this movie. Every single sequence that he's in, it's like he owns the entire production. And I mean, in a way, he kind of does for the sequel because he's Tom Cruise. But with this film, you can really see the dedication with Tom Cruise. Another thing that I gotta talk about is the bromance in this film. I mean, my goodness, Goose and Maverick are some of my favorite guy friend characters. I don't know why, I just love seeing them at the bar singing Great Balls of Fire. It's a classic, hits me every single time. With laughter, obviously, I'm not crying there. But there are some scenes, spoilers, this movie's really old. When Goose does die, that got me, and you really feel the impact. You see the toll that it takes on Tom Cruise as a character, and that's my other positive. The message of recklessness and being brave and the cost of those things, the cost of being a reckless person who thinks that they're being brave. And he is those things, as in Maverick, but it does take a toll. And even though circumstances like for Goose and his death, it's not necessarily his fault, it does push something on him to be better, to still be brave, but to follow the rules. And sometimes, in certain circumstances, you do have to break the rules. But overall, he does change by the end of the film into a new man. And you can tell, especially in the last 10 to 15 minutes, how he works with Iceman. Val Kilmer, I love him. With Iceman and the other pilots, you can tell that he does not want to be that same reckless person anymore, and I loved that. And of course, the action, the flight sequences for its time were probably spectacular. For me, seeing it today now for the second time, or actually, no, sorry, third time, and I love this movie, guys. They did a really good job with how they encompassed, here's the perspective of somebody in the fighter jet. Here's the perspective of someone looking at the other fighter jet and going back and forth through different angles. But I do have to admit, in the third act, the last fight, it felt like, with the editing in particular, I was getting kind of lost. I didn't really know who was who, and then it took me about a minute or so to be like, oh, okay, that's Maverick, that's Iceman, okay, now I get it, and those are the bad guys. For me, it did take me out a little bit, but that's a little negative. But as a positive, I really did enjoy the action as it was. I thought it was engaging, like I said, for its time. Really excited to see what they're going to do with Top Gun Maverick, and from the trailers yet alone, it looks awesome. But action-wise, I had a really, really fun, exhilarating time. There was some edge-of-my-seat moments, even for this film. A lot of, younger audiences are probably going to watch this movie and be like, what the heck is this? But I love it. And the last thing that I have to talk about that was a huge positive for me was, of course, the soundtrack. It is from Danger Zone to the theme for Top Gun. It's incredible. It just gets you right in that feel. When you hear that boom, you know immediately what you're about to watch. And there's certain soundtracks that get you to that feel, like Harry Potter or Star Wars. Top Gun, I would say, is one of those films where you hear that theme, or you hear Danger Zone, and you're like, I'm in it. Now, this isn't a perfect movie. There was a couple things that didn't quite work, and I did touch on one of them earlier, but let's talk about the things that didn't work for Top Gun.
No, I think I can figure that one out on my own.
At the end of the day, guys, this is a cheesy Tom Cruise shirtless playing volleyball, doing dogfights, singing Great Balls of Fire. That's what movie this is, guys. It is a movie literally where men sing Great Balls of Fire. And if you're not in it for the ride, then you can get out of the cockpit, because I will say this. This is the thing that I can agree with people, is that even though it is great for those things, it is a very thin story. It's not really as emotional as it should be, even though I did tear up when Goose died, but there are a few beats, like the romantic relationship. Yes, they have great chemistry together, but there's really nothing sustainable there. It's just there to be like, hey, look at these two hot people making out, which is fine because they're hot and it works. Awesome, I believe that they want each other, but I don't really feel anything emotionally impacting for this overarching story. Another thing that didn't quite work for me was the pacing. It goes in ebbs and flows. It'll have high octane moments, then a creeching stop of really, I don't want to say boring dialogue moments, but moments that didn't really connect with me. And that's going back to the romantic angle. It wasn't for me, and I didn't vibe with it. And the last thing that didn't work for me, and I kind of, like I said, I already touched on it, was some of the action moments genuinely confused me about who is who. Is that Goose? Was that Maverick? Was that the bad guys? Was that Iceman? Was that Hollywood? I honestly couldn't tell. And maybe that was because of the editors or the director and the certain shots that he wanted. Like I said, with Top Gun Maverick, I'm really excited to see what they're able to bring because of the amazing technology that we're able to have today. And whew, it's going to be great. But for this film, yeah, the action was good, but there was just some moments, and this is really like a nitpicky thing, that just kind of made me go, I honestly don't know who I'm looking at right now. So overall, Top Gun is a classic film. It is such a fun ride. Tom Cruise is amazing as Maverick, as Pete Mitchell, and the score is so good. I love the theme. I love the soundtrack. Danger Zone, I literally made that my ringtone for probably a year and a half. Whenever somebody calls me, I hear that song. Whenever I wake up in the morning for about a year and a half, and I brought it back to get ready for Top Gun Maverick, I listen to that song. My wife hates it though, so I should probably change it because it's been driving her crazy. But anyways, I love this film. It is cheesy. It is so over the top when it comes to the bromance stuff, the dog fights. And yeah, even though there's some things that didn't quite work, overall the positives outweighed the negatives. And with that, I gotta give this movie a solid 8 out of 10. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this video. It really, really means a lot. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and be on the lookout for my Top Gun Maverick review coming out next week. And most importantly, don't forget to be blessed.